want to tell a story about when I was in high school. I dropped out of high school 3 different times. And one of the times that I went back to school, let me go back to the beginning. I left home when I was 14. And the reason I kept dropping out of school is because I was working and I couldn't keep up with my grades, I couldn't keep up with my class. And, but in my 11th grade year, I did finally graduate and get a GED and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, my 11th grade year, I was working 3 to 11 at a waffle shop. Well, going to bed at midnight, and I needed more sleep than that. And I would go to school and I'd do okay in the first part of school. And, but then we would have lunch, and the class immediately after lunch was history. And every day I would go have lunch and I would be so excited to go to history class because I loved this class, and I would fall asleep in class. The teacher had a rule against sleeping in his class, but he never punished me. I don't know why, but I'm glad, because I had some amazing dreams in that class narrated by this history teacher who was just as passionate about history as anyone was about anything. And he was an excellent narrator. I'm not sure exactly, I can't remember a lot of what he taught, but the experience just really lit a fire in me to learn the history of things. And so now, when I've discovered the Billy Carson body of work, that resonates with me. I love it. And it's kind of brought me full circle in my spiritual understanding of things. If you don't know who Billy Carson is, look him up. He's got Forbidden Knowledge TV, and he's got TikTok channels and all that sort of thing. He's absolutely worth listening to and joining his Forbidden Knowledge. He's got study groups and that sort of thing. So anyway, so the point that I'm trying to make is that learning history, there's never a downside to it. We learn history the way that we learn it in school. And then when we get outside of the approved history that we're supposed to learn, we learn that there's a different version of history. The next step after that is learning that there are things that didn't quite make the history books. The next step after that is learning that some of that history wasn't accurate that we were taught. So now we're unlearning the history and learning more documented, more accurate version of history. And the way that relates to my spiritual life is that, having an understanding of the Bible. I grew up in church and, knowing all the stories and that Jesus loves me and all this other kind of stuff. It's all great and wonderful. But then you find out where those stories, for the Genesis story, originated from a stone tablet hundreds of thousands of years before the Bible was ever written. It causes you to ask more questions and to ask more intelligent, more comprehensive questions. And it doesn't necessarily lead to answers. 9 times out of 10, it leads you to more questions. And that's progress. That's a good thing, because in the grand scheme of things, if you ever come to the point where you have the answer and you know this thing that you know, and nothing can change your mind, and no outside information is going to influence this piece of knowledge that you have, that's a very dangerous place to be, especially when you don't know the source of that piece of knowledge. And we don't know the source of a lot of the pieces of knowledge that we have, that we think we know, because the Bible told us so. The history of the Bible, the history of the people who wrote the Bible, the history of the people who influenced the Bible and took books out and put books in, the history of the people who told stories that they read in the stone tablets and then altered that a little bit and told the story again, and their grandchildren then scribes wrote on papyrus rolls and put them in jars in Iraqi deserts, and that became the Genesis story. We don't know the origin, we don't know the motivations, we don't know a lot of things. And so having questions is questioning your beliefs is growing spiritually. They're one and the same. If you believe something and you want to know why you believe that, you start asking, why do I believe this? You're on your way to the next level of spiritual development. And when you start questioning, where did this come from? You know, and the first thing it's going to do is piss you off. I promise you that. But the truth is there. And the truth doesn't need you to know the answer. The truth is going to be whatever it is, regardless of whether you believe it or not, or whether the Bible lines up with it or not, or whether history lines up with it or not. And just because it's a historical fact doesn't make it the truth. Because, you know, history is written by the victors. And we've learned through several stories that have been kind of dug up and reanimated and re-examined that, you know, the victors don't always write truth exactly accurately. There tends to be a slant in their favor. So that's the point that I wanted to make, and this video has gone too long already, so I'm going to shorten it up and just say, ask questions.